data center tenants can be living in our apartment. What's your problem here? If you're an apartment multifamily owner and you see workforce huge, you see wages huge, you see demand huge, and oh, by the way, all of that's going on at the same time, what's your problem? What are you complaining about? Seems to me, if I'm an owner and investor, I better be looking for more of these opportunities. I better be doubling down on this. Tap the brakes. We don't know what the environmental impact around these data centers. We need to put the brakes on these to understand what's going on. We are going to talk about two words that is top of mind with most people right now, and those two words are data center. Data center. There are really two sides to this equation when it comes to data center. I'm going to talk to you from the frame of being a multifamily investor, multifamily owner for 3+ decades, how I look at this, how I recommend you may want to look at this in terms of moving forward and making some decisions. Possibly one of those decisions might be doing nothing. That is a decision, but we're going to talk about that. Now, look, there's just two sides to this equation right now, right? I talked to you about before. There's two sides. Okay, side one is we got to do this. We got to push. We got to be data center, more data centers, more data centers. Whether they're constructed here, whether they're in space, whether they're on the moon, it doesn't matter. We got to go, 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 go. You got the tech side of guys just go, go, go. And mainly the big argument is one word, China. China is the argument, right? We got to beat China. We got to beat China in this race, this data race. We got to beat them. We got to beat them. So go, 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 go. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, wait a minute. Hold on to what's going on. Hold on here. Okay, there's a lot of stuff we don't know for sure. We don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on our water supply. We don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on utility bills, electric rates. We don't know what the environmental impact around these data centers could be. There's a lot we don't know. So look, put the brakes on here. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, we need to put the brakes on these to understand what's going on. And there are extremes to both sides here. Throwing, Molotov cocktails at, at founders and CEOs of AI companies. You got that craziness going on, all the way to, on the other side, do whatever is necessary to get these data centers up, running, built. We'll pay whatever price. We'll do whatever needs to be done, etc., for this to happen. Okay, so where does Darin sit on this? I pretty much sit in the middle, guys. I'm pretty much in the middle. And I'm going to tell you why and give you an argument as to why I'm in the middle. First of all, this race to China. I think there's a lot of rhetoric with this in terms of an excuse to get them built fast and get as many built as possible, as quickly as possible. Yeah, is there something to it that we've got to beat China? And if we don't, that could lead to global catastrophe. Is there maybe a little shred to it? Yeah, probably. But is it as bad if we don't? Are we going to be so much worse off if we don't win this AI battle, this AI race with China? I would say probably not as much as what a lot of I'll call them pundits would say we are. I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad if we don't as what people are painting the picture to be if we don't do it and China gets there first. They're painting a picture like it's doom and we're done for. I don't really go for that, to be honest with you. I don't think it's really that extreme. Okay. And then on the other hand, oh my God, if we build any more data centers, environmentally we're in trouble. The earth is in trouble. What's going to happen to my health? What's going to happen if we've got to stop this madness? It's absolute. Now, I'm not on that. I'm not over there. I'm right in the middle. I think we've got to do what's necessary as long as we have the opportunity to technologically advance and make things much, much better. I kind of look at it as like an invention that's continuing to invent. I mean, we could name a long list of great inventors over the, over our lifespans and other people's lifespans over the hundreds or even thousands of years. Great inventors, we could list them. AI is probably like a culmination of great inventors that's going to be inventing things at a much, much faster speed, a much faster scale than what we're used to seeing. And I think there's a part of us that I think we've got a responsibility to kind of push that forward and continue the growth and expansion, especially of our country and of what we're able to do in reaching our potential to do that. Okay. On the other hand, I understand exactly what people's concerns are. We really don't know. We really don't know the kind of issues it could be to our power grid. We really don't know what kind of issues could come if, you go back to the Terminator movies and the Matrix movies and all those kinds of, tales. Could it get that bad? Could AI be making kind of the decisions for us? Could we be ruled by robots in a way? I'm kind of uncomfortable with losing that control too. Okay, so I see both sides of this. But here's where it gets real interesting. So right now, if you're a multifamily owner and investor, you're seeing this pitch a lot, especially if there's data center construction or going on around maybe a property you're considering buying, or maybe another property you're considering buying, or if you haven't run into this yet, you're going to run into it. And it's, oh my God, we got to buy these apartments because all of these data center tenants can be living in our apartments. Okay, all these data center tenants, we can fill our apartments up with data center tenants. Here's why that's attractive. Number one, workforce. Okay, I can tell you from experience, it takes one hell of a workforce to build and construct and continually construct data centers. Huge. I mean, when I go out to the airport here in Cedar Rapids at 5 o'clock in the morning to catch a flight and there's a traffic jam, this is in Iowa, guys, this is in Iowa, there's a traffic jam and it takes me 15 minutes to go from the exit to get to the airport parking lot, and it's only a few miles. Workforce, that's the reason why. Huge workforce. Okay, and so obviously that's good as a multifamily owner, a multifamily investor, when you've got that kind of workforce, of course. And then here's number two, wages. So we have employees of various companies doing some kind of data center related work. These guys are making anywhere from, $50 to $200 an hour, depending on what their job responsibilities are. So you can have somebody, pulling in $250,000, $300,000 renting an apartment from you. That makes you feel pretty good resident there, right? So you've got wages that are extremely high, extremely competitive. You got workforce, you got wages. And then at the end of the day, you got the number three, the trifecta here is demand. So you basically have lines going out the door. You've got your waiting area, your lobby of your management office full of people filling out applications because they want to rent your apartments. There's that much demand. As a matter of fact, guys, we ran into something here within the last couple of weeks that I never thought I would run into, and I've been doing this 30 plus years. Here's what we ran into. Parking. We have one of our apartment communities, we ran out of parking. We've never run out of parking with this apartment community. We've owned it a long time. And we're running out of parking? What? Now I got to think about how we got to figure out how we deal with, parking. It's because of demand. So you throw this trifecta together, guys. And as you can see, it is a very, very tempting carrot to be putting in front of an investor, right? A very tempting carrot to be putting in front of an apartment community owner is this data center stuff. And by the way, it is, because think of it. Think of this too. Here's like another little addition. If you have demand, you have high wages, and you have a great workforce, how much flexibility do you think you might have with the rent that you could ask for? You've got some pretty good flexibility, don't you? In terms of increasing the rent that you could be asking for, right? If you got demand, you got lines of people going out your door, you got high wages, are you going to undercharge rent if you are a business owner? No. If you are a capitalist, if you believe in capitalism, You will take a look at what the market will be able to pay you as a market, and you will work on your rents. That's another thing. So Darin, what's your problem here? Dude, I mean, if you're an apartment multifamily owner and you see workforce huge, you see wages huge, you see demand huge, and oh, by the way, all of that's going on at the same time, what's your problem? What are you complaining about? Why are you even talking about this data center problem? Seems to me it's not a problem. Seems to me if I'm an owner and investor, I better be looking for more of these opportunities. I better be doubling down on this. Tap the brakes. Kind of related to AI, it's an algorithm. The algorithm I'm talking to you about is what's called experience. And by the way, there is no algorithm for experience. What does my algorithm of experience tell me? My algorithm of experience tells me that this is the exact same scenario that here in the state of Iowa we ran into going on about 20 years ago when it came to this product. You've heard of this product, by the way. This product is called ethanol. Ethanol is a product that is found in gasoline. It's basically corn that is converted into fuel and added to gasoline as ethanol. Okay, well, Iowa is the king of corn. Okay, yeah, I know Nebraska people might, have an argument. Illinois might have an argument with me. Heck, even California, there's some people that have argued. But let's just say, for our argument, Iowa is the king of corn. It pretty much is. Well, about 20 years ago, guys, once ethanol got kicked off, the government got behind it. Subsidies, big subsidies from the government for farmers and for the construction of ethanol plants. Huge subsidies came in, so they started putting up all these ethanol plants all over the state of Iowa. You started seeing all of these ethanol plants, right? They're all over. So this is the state of Iowa right here. Okay, I'm not a good drawer of the state of Iowa, but you get the picture. There's all these ethanol plants going up all over the place, right? Well, what do you need to build ethanol plants? Same thing you need for data centers, right? You need, right, workforce. You need high wages. And is there demand for apartments in these communities that were building ethanol plants? Sure there were. So I'm going to tell you the story about a friend of mine. His name is Vance. So Vance bought a bunch of apartments in one of these locations, one of these cities that had ethanol plant construction. He bought the property, fully occupied property, full. I talked to him about what we're working on. Hey Vance, you might want to think about, we got this 140 apartment community under contract. You talked to me about maybe getting involved with what we're doing. You may want to, join me and have a conversation. No, Darin, no, look, I know what you got going on is pretty good, but dude, I'm making 25, 30%, returns on these properties in these, in these towns that have the ethanol plants. I appreciate what you're doing, dude, but I'm making money here. I'm making 20+% returns on my money. So thanks, but I'm going to pass. I'm doing better. Okay, all right. So every time I'd see him, every few months, Vance, how's it going? How you? Oh man, great. Have I told you about how well my apartments are doing? I'd hear about it all the time. I'm like, geez, gosh, am I making a mistake here, right? Until I get a call from Vance one day. This was a few years after all these ethanol plants that had the workforce, the wages, and the demand were starting to get finished. The completion of these plants was done. And so Vance calls me. He says, hey, can you help me out? Sure, what do you need? My properties that were once full are now almost totally empty. And as a matter of fact, I'm having trouble finding residents that want to live here that are going to qualify under our standards. And Darin, by the way, our standards aren't crazy. We're just having people that we can find to fill our apartments. As a matter of fact, the bank is calling the note on the property. Can you help me sell this property? I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You were telling me year after year how great, 20+% returns, how great this was going. And all of a sudden you got a see-through apartment building? He said, if that's the way you want to put it, yeah, I have a see-through apartment building. And obviously what I mean by see-through is there's not occupied, so you can basically see right through it. What's the lesson there? You got the lesson. The ethanol plant work that Vance was involved in, those 20+% returns, were those long-term results? Were those something that you could realistically and more predictably look into the future and say, yeah, I pretty much know where we're going to be this year, next year, the following year? No. Why? Because all of that workforce, all of that wages, and all that demand was what? Temporary. And guys, by the way, that's all this data center stuff is too. That's all it is. It's all temporary. It's all temporary. It's not long term. I mean, pretty soon, with all of our units and all of our apartments, that workforce, it's going to go down, it's going to decrease, and pretty soon that workforce is going to disappear. Those wages, pretty soon those wages, and I'm talking just related to data center now, they're going to disappear, and so will the demand. And so will the demand. So, what's the lesson here? What do you need to know? What do you need to understand about my example here? My example with my story about Vance and the data centers and all of that. If you are anyone that's looking at investing in any kind of multifamily property, and you're being pitched as part of the reason to do that is data center, you better be thinking in chunks of months, projecting months ahead, not years ahead. Okay, because it will not last. Is it a good idea to do the best you can as an investor in an investment while this is going on? Of course. But you want to make sure you understand it's not permanent. So let me ask you a question. With that in mind, if I own an apartment community, let's say it's a 200-unit apartment community, and let's say we have tons of respect for all of the fair housing laws out there. We do. I'm just posing a question to you. Okay, if I own this property, does it make sense that I purposely fill all of my units up with data center employees? Do you think that's a really good idea? Do you think that's a good strategic idea? Well, I talk to landlords, I talk to apartment owners that they've got 50 to 60% of their units occupied by data center employees. Again, we are paying close attention to fair housing laws and how you can't discriminate based on employers and your religion and race and familial status and all that kind of stuff. We know all that, right? So I'm just asking you, as a prudent investor, as a prudent owner, would you be filling your units up with 50 to 60% or more data center employees or residents related to the data centers that are being constructed? Is that a good idea? You tell me. Well, but Darin, don't you know the rental rates? I mean, I can get 20, 30% more in rent because of these wages, Darin, because of these wages here. I mean, I can now, apartments I was renting for $800 a month, geez, now I can get $1,100 a month. What are you talking about, man? This is where you go. This is where you got to go. Yeah, possibly. But is that short-term thinking or is that long-term thinking? And with a real estate investment, do you think it makes sense to think short-term or think long-term? Sometimes you can mix them both and you can have some tactics where you got both related. But in general, what do you think the answer is? Short-term or long-term? Interesting. And so you got this going on. You got 50 to 60% of your population data center related. Okay, so the day comes when the ethanol plant closes. Okay, doesn't close, but they're done with construction. Well, the data centers are done with construction. Now what do? Now what happens? Are you thinking that far ahead? You better be. And so here is the thing that I like about boring apartment communities. Here's what I like. Okay, I like boring apartment communities. Okay, not a lot of drama, not a lot of flash, not a lot of, oh, if this goes right, that goes right, if the planets align and everything, oh, there's not a lot of, oh my God, good thing this data center, because we do there's not a lot of that. Okay, there is grind it out, run the property, manage it the best that you can, all things considered, and pulling from pulling all different kind of levers in terms of who you have live there, what kind of rent you charge, what kind of amenities. You pull all kinds of levers and you think what? You think long term. You think boring long term. Okay? Because at the end of the day, anyone can look really, really good in a short period of time. Almost any investment, not just multifamily, can look terrific in a short period of time. Okay, but what about the long term? What about investing years down the road? What's the answer? Is the answer data centers? Again, which side are you on? Are you on the race to beat China side? Are you on the environmental issues, water, electricity, grid side? Where are you? And even if, no matter where you are on this scale, and you got to agree with me that workforce, huge, wages, huge, demand, huge. But remember my ethanol plant example and what happens, which is why you don't want to get too emotional or too jacked up about getting involved in any kind of multifamily property that not only has data center attached to it as a result of outcome, but any short-term benefit attached to outcome. Oh, this is happening. Oh, that's happening. This is going on. Well, how long is that going to last? How long is that going to be the case? How long is, you see what I mean? Yeah, but the employer, they're adding this many jobs. Well, they can take that many jobs away like that, can't they? Right? So, give this some thought when it comes to data centers. You're going to be seeing more and more of this dangled in front of you as a carrot. Now, no matter what side of it you're on in terms of what you think of them, this is going to be dangled in front of you as an investor, especially when it comes to multifamily property. And I've given you kind of the recipe that I would use in terms of how you should think through this before you start making decisions and investing your money. And make sure you lock into that and use that and think not short-term, guys, but think long-term. All right, take care. Hopefully this information has been useful to you. The more you run into this data center opportunity, the more you can think through it and the better decisions that you can make. All right, good luck. We'll talk to you later. See you. Bye-bye. If you want to get your hands on more great multifamily real estate content, make sure you click here. If you want to invest passively in great multifamily real estate, make sure you click here.